grounded. He will.
It's the Skinny on Sports Podcast with Aaron Cowk.
I throw balls far. You want good words? Data language.
Talk real sports with a real man.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
And now, here's the be-all, end-all, know-it-all of high school, college, and pro sports. Aaron Skinny Cowk with the Skinny on Sports.
We're talking about practice, man. I'm the MVP.
Good Thursday morning out there, Western Oklahoma. Welcome to the Skinny on Sports, right here on 98.1 FM, the Sports Animal. Glad to have you along for the next hour. Man, we got all kinds of things we can talk about today, Jared. Thunder host Dallas tonight. They've fallen just a half a game behind the old Denver Nuggets after the Nuggets won in Miami last night. So if the season ended today, well, first of all, the Thunder would play one less game than Denver, so that wouldn't really be right. But they would be behind into the second seed in the Western Conference standings. I'm sure we'll see that volleyball back and forth throughout the rest of the regular season. But Thunder versus Dallas, Luka went out last night. Even though the Mavs beat Golden State, he went out, see what his status would be. Obviously, that would be a big help if you're a Thunder fan looking to win that game against Dallas tonight. No Luka Doncic would be certainly in your favor, but we will see exactly what his status is. I think it was kind of a hamstring. I don't know if it was tightness all the way to stretch. They just called it tightness kind of after the game. So we'll see about that and figure that out as the day moves along, what his status would be this evening against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Also, the Players' Championship starts today. The best field in golf. Is it?
Is it?
Is it still the best field in golf as it likes to portray itself? I'm going to say no. I don't think it can be. Because there's a whole bunch of dudes not there. A whole bunch of dudes playing live golf that aren't there that we will see at, say, like the PGA Championship. I think we're going to have to start saying the PGA is the best field in golf.
Yeah.
Since they can have kind of it's a similar setup, except for live guys can play that one and they can't play today. But still, the allure of that course, we've seen the disasters, the train wrecks that have happened on 17, the Island Green. We've also seen heroics at the Island Green. So it'll be a fun week. And just, to me, you get to the Players when it's back, now that it's back in its March spot where it was for a long time. It scooched to May to try to make kind of that 5 months in a row with a big-time tournament. Then when the PGA moved back to May, Players move back to March, and for me, now that it's back in its normal March spot, this is like, okay, the Players, the Masters is literally right around the corner. Like golf season is going right now with the Players Championship.
That's why I pay attention.
Yeah.
Because I want to get a good feel. Now, you mentioned the field it's not the same as the Masters field, but it gives you an idea. You can get who's playing well. Gives you an idea.
Yeah, who might be rounding into form a little bit.
Yeah, who you can look forward to on Masters weekend.
So we got that coming up. It's already underway down in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida. I mentioned the Nick Saban stuff yesterday. We never really got to it or to be able to have a nice long conversation. So Nick Saban was up on Capitol Hill talking about NIL, portal, all those things wrapped into one. So what did he say? Do you have a problem with what he said? Will there end up being any rules or regulations put in place for the portal NIL? Should there be? If there are, what would make sense? Just that whole conversation that seems to have sparked back up and maybe some people changing sides in the media because Nick Saban is the one that said it when, other people may not listen. But and then also kind of a little underlying thing that happened yesterday, nobody really talking about just yet, but as expected, the Big 12 and the ACC commissioners gave their nod of approval for the framework of the 14-team playoff that would more than likely begin in 2026 because that's when the TV contract would renew. No shock there, I don't think, because of what would be promised, but we can get into that. Then, of course, March Madness / conference tournaments. Sooners fall to TCU. Are they in? If they're not in, play in. I mean, I don't – we'll get to it. But play-in game, are they in? If you don't think they're in, or if you think they're in a play-in possibility, who do they need to lose that might bump them down? You know what I'm saying? There's some teams that are still winning that probably need to lose. Another shocking result from the Big 12 tournament last night. Kansas State upsetting Texas, and then also KU. I get it, they've got injured guys, but 20-point demolition from Cincinnati?
Yeah, shouldn't KU's bench still be better than most starting lineups? That's what they tell us anyways.
It's funny because, on one side, OU fans are crying about not being able to beat TCU. They had 3 guys out. But the same thing at the same time, it's like, well, KU didn't have their guys.
What's the first alert I saw?
Well, you knew
Cincinnati blows out a short-handed Kansas. Like, oh, there's the embedded excuse for self in Kansas.
But here's the truth. The same thing for Oklahoma, the same thing for Kansas, and any team in the country. You take that many guys, key guys off of a team, they'll lose.
You'll struggle.
No one has enough. There's nobody that has enough quality depth. So simmer down out there, OU fan, for goodness sake. But disappointing so far season for Kansas. How long has it been since it's been quite this disappointing? And then I've got a projection.
Maybe they'll fire Self, and that's who OSU will hire.
Well, there you go. I lost a steak dinner on that one time when he was still in Illinois.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, right before he came to Kansas to my Uncle Leon. Had too much faith in the pull of the cowboy. Didn't work.
Pulling them home.
Didn't work. Okay, so now let's say that Oklahoma is in and not in a play-in game. I think TCU is in now too after beating OU. So let's say the Big 12 gets 9 teams that start in the bracket. Okay? Over under 12 tournament wins for the league. So you can stew on that as I go through the normal spiel. 225-9698 is your phone or your text line. That is 225-9698. Give us a call, shoot us a text. We can talk about any of those things or whatever else might be on your mind. Feel free to chime right in at 225-9698. If you're going to be outside the listening area, a couple ways to stay in touch with the show. Log on to kadsam.com, or you can download the app. The app's got it all. It's got radio. It's got the Penny News. Brand new edition of the Penny News. Would be out right now. Everywhere. Go pick up a free copy of the Penny News. Check it out online, thepennynews.com. Big Elk and Paragon TV are always available when the sports are going in the high school. And, of course, the Skinny on Sports podcast is there as well, wherever you find any of your other podcasts. How are you today, Jared?
Very well. How are you doing?
I am fantastic. Looks like it's going to be a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Yeah, maybe not as warm as yesterday, but not bad. Can't complain. My kid desperately wants it to be summer. She comes out in shorts and a T-shirt. I said, I think you're going to want to start with a hoodie. It's still springtime. You know where they went yesterday?
Where?
Medicine Park.
Oh, really?
A little field trip.
Oh, cool.
They had a scavenger hunt down at Medicine Park.
Oh, that's pretty neat.
I think they had a really good day for it. I don't think it was as
it didn't. It didn't seem to be as brutally windy as maybe they thought it might be.
I'm guessing maybe if you go further west, it probably was. I don't know. I haven't heard any, but it wasn't that bad. So saw some pictures. Looked like all those kids had fun down there. And that's all she talked about. I was like, we need to go down there. They have cabins and stuff. I was like, yeah, I think that we should. They've got
a swimming hole in the middle of town.
Yeah. Didn't they do like a polar plunge in there?
It was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yes, they do. When we were out walking yesterday, 6 o'clock maybe, and the wind was blowing, but it wasn't so bad that you couldn't, when I think 40-mile-an-hour gusts, I think I don't want to be outside. It wasn't that terrible. So that was probably a good thing with the fire danger that was out there as well. Yeah, today light winds, north winds. I think it's supposed to start getting cooler. Tomorrow cooler.
Yeah, And for a little bit.
By
of a
quite a
cool down.
bit.
Do we still have rain in the forecast?
Saturday, maybe.
Well, you're just knocking on wood. We need
Maybe
all that rain.
Slight chance on Saturday afternoon. But, yeah. Yeah, it's just not – I want it to be warmer in the mornings than it is. It's like this morning at like 6:15 we take off, and I've got shorts and like just a light jacket. Guess what? I probably needed either gloves or a stocking cap. It's just, any sort of wind, and 48 feels like 40, and guess what? 40 degrees is pretty cold. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just not quite as warm as I want it to be in the mornings, but it is what it is, and we're getting closer and closer. I mean, we're not officially in spring yet. What's that, the end of this month? About a week away or so from officially spring, like March 21st or 23rd or something like that. Excuse me. But we are, to me, time change equals spring.
Agreed.
And then time change equals fall. Out of the summer into the fall.
I
But
can
even
see
heck,
the uniformity there.
But
yeah.
even now though, it's so much later on when it changes back that you're into clear to November. By that point, late October into November. So
what are you going to do
probably not right.
if they do away with all this time change? There's talk of that passed through the House, I believe, at the state level.
I mean,
But how are you going to determine when is it spring and fall then? The Masters and
March Madness.
March Madness.
That means we're creeping into spring.
I've always said the
Spring break.
the Saturday of small school finals, state tournament finals.
Kinda getting into
it kind
spring.
of feels like spring-like. That's the turn for me anyways. Fall, that's a good question. Maybe Halloween. I don't know. I mean, I almost say it's the kickoff of football season. I'm ready for fall weather.
I would say Labor Day is probably a little early.
A little early for that.
Even though you hope it is. Like you hope September is going to be the start of fall.
No, it's not.
It's usually not.
No.
It's usually too hot for that.
No, maybe around that's probably when I start to think, remember the first chill in the air is around Halloween night. Man, it was cold this Halloween.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's times where there's starting in October, you can get some chilly times.
Yeah,
but
I'm glad we're getting this nice weather back.
yes.
It is hard to dress for in the morning, though.
You're not sure.
A little chilly, and you gotta layer up in a way. Like
Yeah.
I could take off this little pullover if I need to.
If you're going to be outside, you need a little jacket. Even
Yes.
if you wear shorts, you still need a little jacket. Which this is my favorite time because that means I don't have to wear jeans anymore. I may not wear jeans again until December.
How many pairs of jeans do you actually own?
2.
I figured it was somewhere below 5. I could
2.
have bet that.
I've got
and
2
won
pair.
that.
I've got 2 pair, and I space them out through the week to where I can wear just 2 pair. Well, maybe Monday and Tuesday, coming off the basketball game. You have a new pair on Wednesday for Thursday and Friday. Just kind of rotate them that way. Sometimes you got to wear pants if they're not ready. You know how that goes every now and again. But, yeah, just 2 pairs of jeans that actually work. And I'm not sure they work. They're starting to fall apart. They're old. I've had the same 2 pair of jeans for a while.
We'll move on after this. But did I tell you what happened last weekend? It was last Friday when I was at the state tournament. Was it Friday? I think it was. At the 2A state tournament. And I get home. I'm ending my day, and I'm in the closet, undressing, getting ready to jump. No, it was Thursday. Excuse me.
No, it could have been Thursday. They didn't play.
No, I wasn't, but I was still. It was Thursday, and I'm doing all that. I'm home. I'm getting ready for a shower and everything, and I look at the jeans that I was wearing, and there's a big split right in the backside, big one, and I don't remember when it happened. And I'm standing there thinking, how long I've been walking around with this? I mean, it's one thing having your fly down. It's another thing having a big split in your pants that you have no idea when it happened. I didn't hear it rip when I was taking them off or anything. So I was a little disappointed too. It was one of my favorite pair of jeans, but it happens.
Brings
And
a new.
I told my wife, I said, I guess you can call me fat now because I just split pants. I don't know when it happened.
Brings some new meaning to showing your ass.
I was thinking, hopefully, what underwear was I wearing if people saw it? I was my mind was racing. I was thinking, when did that happen? That's not a good feeling.
It's amazing you didn't know you did it.
That's what I'm saying. Usually, you if you sit down or bend over, you hear that. You can,
start feeling gust
or
of
a gust of wind
air
or something
that you don't normally feel.
There's nothing. I mean, like I could put did I show that picture? I could put my full hand through it. It still baffles me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, so yesterday, Big 12 tournament really got rolling with the 4 games. I guess you'd call that. Gosh, is that even the quarterfinals yet? Not really.
I don't know.
I think quarterfinals
it does look like
now.
a wrestling bracket.
Yeah, I think quarterfinals are now that you've got the 1 through 4 seeds, right? 8 plays 1. Yeah. Here we are.
Is it quarters?
I think we're in the quarters now. That's right. Yeah, because you got 1 and 8 or 1 and 9 or whatever the seeds were. Anyways, but Oklahoma falls 77-70 to TCU. The Horned Frogs dominated from the very beginning. Oklahoma missing 3 what have been at times starters off of the team this season in the game yesterday with Hughley and Suarez, who have been out, and then also McCollum as well. It was ugly. TCU was ahead double digits basically the whole game. The Sooners made it look respectable at the end, but never really threatened to win the game from the very beginning. I mean, it was just it was all TCU the entire time. So OU falls out of the Big 12 tournament and they end the regular season at 20-12. So do you think they are absolutely for sure in the tournament?
Well, I'll go with what everyone else is saying. The experts saying yes. I'm leaning on that win against Cincinnati put them in. Now it's a matter of seeding, and they're dropping. Their seeding is, but and you'd hope that they'd pay attention, that the committee would look at what we just talked about. Who played? Should we really fault them? But will they be back? I think there's questions of that even. And I think that definitely plays a factor into when someone is. Doesn't it? Does it?
Oh, 100% it would.
If someone's not healthy,
you don't think that's not why Porter Moser was out there telling everybody that would listen yesterday after the game that those 3 guys will be healthy for next week?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. No, I think they're in. Just not my opinion. It's the bracketologist opinions that they are in.
So what are those opinions? I have them written down right here. I'll tell you. That was a rhetorical question.
Of
the bracketologists. Lenardi.
Okay,
so
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Lenardi on ESPN has OU as a 10 seed, one of the last 4 byes. So not in the play-in, in the tournament. He has them as a 10 seed playing Gonzaga. The Fox projection by a guy named Mike DeCourcy, he has Oklahoma still a 9 seed playing Boise. And then the CBS projection by Jerry Palm, also a 9 seed but playing Gonzaga. So he has both of those teams as different seeds than what Lenardi has them, but still playing each other, which is pretty interesting. That was the same case the other day with some of these projections that we've seen. So no one, as far as the people that follow this, and listen, you make fun of them all you want, they're normally pretty well correct.
Pretty close.
So no one has Oklahoma as a play-in game team at the 11th spot, all above that, and that's what we've seen consistently. And I think there's some things that Porter Moser pointed out after the game yesterday as to why you're seeing this. One, when Oklahoma's been healthy, they're 18-6. So 2-6 without their guys. And also, they don't have a single quad 2, 3, or 4 loss. So every loss that they've incurred has been to quad 1 teams, which is pretty remarkable. What that means is, you quality loss component into anything, they have them. That's all they have is quality losses. They haven't. They don't have that stinker that shows up that kind of messes with your resume. They don't have a loss like that. And now you look around at some different teams that are, Kansas State's a team that was out, who all of a sudden they've won a couple of games, beat Texas last night. As far as maybe some teams it's weird because Cincinnati and Kansas State, you would think would be teams that OU wouldn't want to see do well because maybe they would sneak up and pass them. At the same time, Oklahoma swept Cincinnati and won at K-State. So then there's that head-to-head component with those two teams, at least those two Big 12 teams that are outside looking in but could continue to win. And obviously Kansas State, heck, they play each other, don't they? No. Kansas State played Iowa State.
Iowa State tonight.
Yeah, that's right.
Tonight.
Yeah, and so maybe that's in a way bolstering the resume around the country if those teams win, but also would they bump OU out if they continue to win or even heck win the whole tournament? I think it's an interesting argument, and you could probably make it both ways.
Yeah, I think that you're going to ask who could win and bump OU out, or a game we need to be keeping eyes on. I don't think there is a game that's going to bump them out, but I think there's a game or could be games that could move them and maybe even put them into that play-in game or first round play-in, whatever we're calling it. I think they're on the cusp of that or on the edge of that, but I think they're in no matter what. It's just a matter of what seeding. Now, don't ask me what games. I'm just kind of clicking.
Well,
looking at games I'm just trying to equate it like, according to ESPN and Lenardi is, let's say first four out or last four in. Those games right there, if there is an upset or someone goes on a run and gets that automatic bid, where does that move? Maybe those last four byes, like Oklahoma, Michigan State, Seton Hall, and Mississippi State. I don't think it bumps any one of those guys out. It just moves them around. So, do you have games listed?
Yeah, he's got a few listed here, and it's got the teams like the next four out. He has them in the win here and then win again column, which Kansas State was in that yesterday.
So win like two.
Well, Kansas State already beat Texas, and they're still there.
Right.
Where they need to win today against Iowa State and then maybe win another one. They're there. Providence is there. Which the interesting part about this for OU specifically is those two teams Oklahoma's beaten, Kansas State and Providence.
That's right.
Some other teams that are on the outside looking in, even with a win, according to Lenardi today, would be Memphis, Oregon, UNLV, and Ohio State. Ohio State actually plays Iowa, which they're in the out if they don't win category. Iowa's in the next four out. Ohio State must be even further back behind that because those two teams play. And so you're talking about St. John's, Pitt, and Wake Forest play each other. They're in the out without winning type of thing. A&M, mentioned Iowa, Colorado, South Florida. So if you're looking for teams that may be able to come from behind,
play their way in, which would start bumping Oklahoma down, those are some names that you're looking at. But once again, I mean, that's a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 teams. Oklahoma's beaten 3 of them with Iowa, Providence, and Kansas State. So I'm a little confused. I find it interesting that when you look on Lenardi's first four out, next four out. So that tells me when you're on the next four out, you're 2 rungs down the ladder, right?
That's right.
So but out without, like, first four out, I'm just example, Texas A&M's on that list.
Yeah, they're out.
If they do not win.
That's right.
They are alive if they win.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying they're in.
Right.
But they're still alive. But then also on that list, I think I saw Pitt. Wouldn't you want to put them win here and then win again?
Well, I think
you know what I mean.
I think he put them where he put them because of who they're playing.
Because
they're playing Wake.
I see.
And Wake is in that. You know what I'm saying? They're both. I mean, somebody's going to win, and then they'll be in a different column. But right now, since they're playing each other, whoever loses that game is done because they're both in the either first or next four out category. That's why I think if they weren't playing each other, they would be in the bottom column, which is win here, then win again, or depending on their resumes, one of them, Wake, would be the most likely candidate since they're so close. They might be up in the win and in where Mississippi State and Virginia are.
Gotcha.
See what I'm saying?
Yep.
I think that's why that is, just because they're playing each other. One of them is going to lose, and whoever loses is going to be out.
Oh, it's fun to talk about. Keeps us talking about college basketball of all things.
Yeah, it does.
Especially when a team like OU is still, we think is going to be in it, and playing Gonzaga is definitely intriguing. Boise State as well. And then looking at this projected bracket, could see a rematch with North Carolina if OU is able to get healthy and win that game against Gonzaga.
Yeah, and let's make it really clear here. Lenardi has Oklahoma in the worst spot of any of the projections.
Oh, well.
And they're still in the end.
Yeah.
You know, because you got Palm and DeCourcy at Fox, both at 9 seeds. Now, I didn't look at the date. So I don't know if they're updating it daily like he is, or if that was first to the week type thing.
I think at this point, Lenardi is open, like we
Every
said
day.
yesterday, like hourly almost.
Yeah.
I mean, because there's games going to be tipping off here in a couple hours that will matter. So he's keeping a close eye on it, as he always does.
Jared, you know what Thursday is?
Wing day.
You're exactly
Yes.
correct. Thursday is 50-cent boneless chicken wing day at Boomtown Grill. What a great deal. You can go get you some wings, get you a cold drink of whatever flavor you want, and sit down and watch these games. You can do it for the conference tournaments this week. I mean, a week from today, we're talking about the big dance tipping off in an hour and a half. What a great spot to be at, down at Boomtown with your 50-cent boneless wings, your drinks, tons of different flavors of the wings. On the sauces, you got mild, chipotle, sriracha, garlic parmesan, my personal favorite, mango habanero, hot barbecue, kickin' bourbon, sweet red chili. I know my mom likes sweet red chili when we've been there, and their mango habanero, all of them. Wyatt's a barbecue guy, so he's kind of on that tip. Garlic parmesan, anything is always pretty good as well. Any of those sauces would be great. 50-cent boneless chicken wing day today at Boomtown Grill. So go stop by, get you some wings, watch some hoops. But if it's not wings, if you're in the mood for pizza, pasta, Boomtown's got it there as well. One of the only places in the area that offers artisan pizzas down at Boomtown. 2103 South Main in Elk City. You can carry it out. 580-225-3463 is their phone number to make your order and go pick it up. Or you can also 7 days a week, 11 to 10, Sunday through Thursday, and 11 to 11 Friday and Saturday. Okay, so how about Kansas? What has happened to poor Kansas? Should we say poor Kansas?
No.
Is that right?
Sorry. No.
You're not going to go with poor Kansas?
No. KU, more like KPU. That was weak.
Should have said Pew and went on.
Pew. Whew. No. Listen. No. It's nice to see the Kings fall every once in a while. Off their throne a little bit. Doesn't mean they're off. I mean, doesn't mean they're done. I mean, they'll be back. They're Kansas. It's like OU football. I mean,
that's what I was about.
Going to be back.
It's almost the exact comparison, the way that those two teams have dominated this conference for so many years.
Yeah.
A lot of the same feelings that other schools have for the Sooners on the football field extends to everyone toward Kansas basketball.
Yeah. We don't get a lot of opportunities to talk about a mediocre Kansas basketball team and have fun with it, right? Just like there's not a lot of opportunities to talk about OU football in that light. So, not poor Kansas. It's welcome to the real world, Kansas. Welcome back down to earth for a brief moment because, like I said, they don't stay down here very long.
It is kind of fun. Okay, so let's say the Big 12 gets 9. And they all start on Thursday, a week from Thursday, a week from today. 50-cent wing day at Boomtown. How many total tournament wins? Let's say I set the over-under for the Big 12 at 12. 12 wins in the NCAA tournament for the 9 teams that would make it, would you go over or would you go under?
Well, but my quick math says over.
Okay, how are you getting there?
You want to go team by team?
No, just okay. So
Okay, well, I'll just throw my hand down and show you. I got Houston winning it all.
so that's 6 wins.
Yeah.
So if you got Houston winning it all, that means the other 8 teams just need to win 6 games. That seems incredibly easy.
Yeah.
Unless say the Big 12 goes 3-6 in the first round. So you'd have 3. Houston would be one of those, so you would add 5 more. Now you're just at 8.
Yeah.
So you need the other 2 teams, one to make the Final Four and one to make the Sweet 16, or both of them to make it to the Elite 8. 12 wins, what I'm trying to point out here is it seems like, okay, 9 teams, 12 wins, that's easy.
Right.
It's really not that easy to do.
I think the common misconception from a novice fan is that it's easy to get to the Sweet 16.
Right.
It's not.
It
is not easy to get to the Sweet 16. But I'm very bullish on the Big 12 this year.
I kind of am too.
Because of one of the amount of teams, 9 teams, projected 9 teams in.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think because of the quality of play all season long, coupled with the fact that we're scoring points now in the Big 12. It kind of continued yesterday too. A 77-7 final in that OU-TCU game. It looked like it was never going to get there, but anyways, my point is, all that put together, I think I'm very high on the Big 12 going into this tournament. And the potential matchups who they get, especially in the first round.
Well, that's the thing. If you can get 6 onto the second round, or 7, go 7-2 and 6-3. Yeah. Then all you got to do is have one team make a run and you're over.
Yeah.
You know, that's that first round in bets like that, and you see them all the time. Those are the as much as you're thinking, okay, yeah, Houston, I got them to win it. Well, even if they don't win it, say they get to the Final Four, say they get to the title, they're winning 4 or 5 for you.
Yeah.
But the problem is, if you only have 2 other teams, then they have to make deep runs. Whereas you start banking those wins in that first round, then you can afford the conference not to be quite as tough as you thought it was, yet still go over. I would probably say over as well, because I think the Big 12 will win 6 or 7 in the first round, get like 3 into the Sweet 16. Well, at that point, you got 10. So all you got to do is, you know what I'm saying, have a team make the Final Four, and bam, you're even.
Yeah, you're pretty much on par with what I said. I wrote them all down team by team.
Yeah, I think the Big 12 has a chance to get 3 or 4 into the Sweet 16. I really do. Because I believe in the strength of this conference, and I think that's going to show once we get to the actual tournament.
How about this? Okay, let's turn the question around. What Big 12 teams do you think will maybe not even get out of the first round?
Oklahoma is an obvious candidate. I think Texas is an obvious candidate, but I think Texas is also a candidate, especially if they can get off of the 8-9 line. Mm-hmm. I think they're a pretty decent candidate to make it to the next weekend. They're just you just don't know. Like they're as talented as basically anybody. I think TCU will be a hard out, but I could see, and then Iowa State, Baylor, the shooting of BYU, obviously Houston, Kansas is a total mystery. Who else? Who am I missing? Somebody.
Tech.
Depending on what I think a lot of it's so matchup specific.
Like all those teams you've mentioned, we've seen how good they can be.
That's right.
Like you just said about Texas, and then we've seen how bad they can be. Like we saw OU when they're not even healthy, they struggle. And we've seen it on both sides of the spectrum with Tech and TCU. BYU, they were hot to start the year. But you're right, it is contingent on matchups.
But let's say let's say Oklahoma or Texas or TCU, those 3 that are kind of at the bottom probably of the 9. Let's say they're at 10.
That kind of flips things on its head, doesn't it?
So you beat a 7. I'm talking about for the second round.
Oh, I got you.
You beat a 7 seed in the first game. The 2 seeds right now, North Carolina. Oklahoma played North Carolina decent. to the point where you wouldn't be – they played them well enough earlier in the season to go, well, I wouldn't be shocked if OU could beat them. It's not a very good matchup with Baycott, but you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Baylor's the team that I don't think Oklahoma can beat. I don't know if they could ever beat. That's just a – but then Marquette and Arizona, I mean, are you just giving that game away for any of those three against those teams? No. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you wouldn't just fall on the floor. I woke up with my head sewn to the carpet, shocked if TCU beat Marquette.
No.
If Texas beat North Carolina. You know what I mean? You just wouldn't be. And I think that's to the parity of the entirety of the tournament.
Or Tech beating Creighton.
Yeah. I mean, Tech's going to be a way higher seed, but the point is still there. Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so a 5 and a 4 where they've got Tech now. Yeah, I mean, is there any of those teams, Alabama, Kansas, Kentucky, or BYU, that you go, boy, Tech can't beat them? Absolutely not.
No.
So I do think that the Big 12, I believe that the strength of that conference, the depth and the quality of it is going to shine through into at least the Sweet 16. Now, after that, then I think you're looking at Houston, maybe Iowa State, maybe Baylor as teams that can then go on. No, I don't think this is a year where the Big 12 can get 2 or 3 in the Final Four, which there have been years where you're like, man, maybe the conference down below wasn't very good, but at the very top it was great. You know, when Kansas and Baylor were really good. And Houston was then in a different conference, so now you throw that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's times where you wouldn't be shocked at all if that happened. I think Houston is kind of the one that can make the Final Four, and everyone else would really need some help. Really need some favorable matchups. But having said that, hell, Kansas State almost made the Final Four a year ago out of nowhere.
Yeah,
and that's the difference in the tournament now, I think, than it has been maybe even ever, is with all the different things that are involved now in college basketball, with the portal, which let's be honest, the portal in basketball really started. It was moving before the football one, right? I mean, this has been going on for longer in basketball than it has in football.
Yeah, it has.
We just didn't realize it.
Yeah.
And so with that, and now, you know, obviously people wanting to get out to go to the NBA. The quality at the top is diminished quite a bit. And I think that's why you're starting to see. I mean, I don't think it's any coincidence that we'd never seen a 16 beat a 1, and then all of a sudden in the last within the last decade, obviously, it's happened twice in the last 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
You know, and those things are happening. I mean, you see, and you're not overly shocked. You know, the first time when Virginia got beat, it's like, oh my gosh, what just happened?
Yeah.
Was anybody just overly shocked last year? Purdue got beat as a 1? Purdue always gets beat, depending on what their seed is.
There's just more parity.
No doubt.
And fluidity of everybody moving around. It's going to create those sometimes overlooked matchups that you're not prepared for, right? Whereas you can say, well, okay, this is a team. You know, I'm just example here. Bob Huggins brings a team that's going to suffocate you with defense. Press Virginia. You know that's coming every time. And they've had this guy they've had these 3-4 guys that have ran this defense, this system for years. It's not like that anymore. It's hard to prepare now for that.
Well, and I think as fans, especially here in this state, college basketball has lost its importance over the years. And so we're not watching outside of Oklahoma or Oklahoma State, and even now it's getting to the point where you don't really even want to watch those no matter how big a fan you are, because it's hard to watch. But you don't realize that Stephen F. Austin has Brad Underwood as their coach, and they've been pretty good. You know what I'm saying? You don't, if you don't pay as much of attention, then it's kind of surprising. Like last year, Florida Atlantic, you're like, oh my God, a 9 seed in the Final Four, what happened? Or what? But a lot of people that actually follow it weren't that surprised because of how their team was built. And I think for the first time ever, those teams like that, and I think it all comes from Gonzaga. starting back in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, doing what they did, that helps these other places. I mean, look at Creighton. They're a 2 seed. Marquette. I mean, even though the Big East, it's not the old Big East.
Right.
But those teams are formidable. Houston just now became a Big 12 team. And it's not just at the top of those. It's also down through, like we saw a year ago, all the way down through to San Diego State and Florida Atlantic playing in the Final Four. And we shouldn't have been that surprised about it, no matter what their names on the front of their jerseys say. And so, and I think some of that makes it makes for a more fun tournament. But I'll say this, I don't know how many times over the next week. And maybe not this year because they're not those teams. But for me, I love the upsets. I want the upsets to be like 5-12, maybe 4-13, and have their fun the first week. But then in the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight, I'm going to start needing North Carolina, Duke, Kansas, Kentucky. You know what I'm saying? I want to see that at the end, not San Diego State and Florida Atlantic. No offense to those places. When it gets down to the Final Four, the Elite Eight, I want to see the 1s and the 2s playing.
You want the Blue Bloods.
Yeah, of course.
But you do want the 1s and 2s because even though maybe not all Blue Bloods are 1s and 2s,
Mm-hmm.
but for me, though, I want to see, maybe a North Carolina, Kansas Final Four or, semifinal.
Oh, how cool was it when North Carolina played Duke a couple years ago in the Final Four?
Yes.
It was great.
Yes.
Absolutely great. That's what we want to see.
Yeah.
We don't want to see San Diego State and Florida Atlantic in the Final Four. Give me a break. Nobody wants that. Miami?
Some people do. Some people do.
Oh.
Some people want like that Cinderella story.
What a horrific Final Four year
That's
ago.
an interesting conversation.
You
we can
forget how
have.
bad that Final Four was.
Yeah. But that's a conversation we get. What draws more eyeballs, the Blue Bloods
not even
or the
close.
Cinderella
It's the
stories?
Blue Bloods,
People
it's
tune
not.
in and go, "Oh, I love that UMBC team."
Yeah, until they don't. Interesting. We were talking in the break just about, part of the reason why I think there's parity is there's not the guys that in college basketball anymore. And, if you listen to Jim at all, he talks about one of the main reasons why it's hard to watch is because the coaches are really in control. The coaches are the people you know. And it's so true. So UConn is the defending national champ. And I can't remember anybody's name on their team. They got the big giant white dude. It's like Klingman or something like that. Klingen? Drew Klingen?
Dude,
is that his name?
I don't know.
Dalton? So I don't know. He's a big giant white guy. He was, he played last year. But I know that Danny Hurley's a coach. We all know Zach Edey, just because he's been there for so long and he's 7'4". Who else is on Purdue? Jaden Ivey's gone. Matt Painter's still there. Who's Matt Painter? Oh, he's the coach. And here's the one that really brought it home for me when we were just sitting here talking. Houston is in the Big 12. Houston is the regular season Big 12 champ. We obviously know who their head coach is in Kelvin Sampson. But you said it, and you're 100% correct. You and I both can sit here and name the coaches on his staff more than the players on his team. And it's true. We can name more of the assistant coaches for the Houston Cougars who are number 1 in the net rating, Big 12 regular season champs in this conference that we follow closely. And I can think of Shed, and I can think of L.J. Cryer, who came from Baylor. So he already had kind of noteworthiness because he was already in the Big 12. And I can name 4 Houston coaches.
Well, here's the thing. And we're OU guys, we're OU fans, and we know McCollum and Godwin and them, but that's because we follow them. But there's even to a point where I just go, I'm not going to get used to these guys. I'm not, I'm just going to, what number do you wear? That's who I'm going to know you as, because you're just going to move on next year. This is going to be a totally brand new team, and this is across the country. So that's why no one's putting any effort into learning these guys' names. But when there's someone like Edey who's hung around, You get to know them, and you get to, especially when they're really good. But yeah, it's the world of college basketball we live in. You know the coaches more than you do the players, and even now the coaches are about fed up with it. I mean,
yeah, we still haven't got to Saban, dadgummit. We just did nothing but college basketball this show, but eventually we're going to get to what Saban said.
It is the off season of
I know,
football, but
it's a lot to talk about, though. And it's a really good conversation. But, I guess the assignment would be figuring out who these guys are. Great question by Mark.
I missed it.
Does Nebraska, Fred Hoiberg,
yeah.
no idea who plays for him.
No.
Not even, I'm not even going to pretend. What's his name? Eric Strickland, is he still there? Jerron Boone, Eric Piakowski. I mean, these are names from the 90s, for goodness sakes. Are they still there?
Probably.
Are they on the staff?
Coaches, yeah.
Hamilton, was one of them back in the day. Yeah, Fred Hoiberg, I do know that he's at Nebraska because he's the coach. Never won a tournament game. They'll have a chance. It seems like they've had some pretty good results.
Seen some matchups that are favorable for them. The ESPN one has them against Texas.
Ooh.
I don't know if I would.
Texas versus Nebraska.
I would
That'd
probably lean with Texas. But that'd be cool. That's a storyline to watch.
Well, that'd be a fun name game for, you know what I mean, like, as far as that goes. Real quick, the last thing I want to say about, the question of is OU in, is OU out. I think the main reason why they're going to be in, and I'm going to name off some names here because there aren't very many. Where are we at? No, finally find. Okay, here we go. Here are the names: Utah State, Auburn, Houston, Purdue, and Connecticut, and Oklahoma. So that was 6, right? UConn, Purdue, Houston, Auburn, Utah State, and Oklahoma. You know what all those teams have in common? Their only losses are quad 1 losses.
Oh.
They have not lost a quad 2, quad 3, or quad 4 game. That is why Oklahoma is going to be in the tournament.
Quality losses matter.
Yeah, and they don't have any bombs.
Nah.
They have 0 just horrific.
They beat who they should beat.
4-12 against quad 1, so they got 4 wins in quad 1 and 0 losses in the last 3 quads. That's why they're going to make it. Yeah. It just is. That's a stat that I think with Moser's 18-6 when they're healthy. I mean, he was clearly politicking. I mean, it almost reminded you of Saban being on the broadcast for a Big 12 title game, right? Trying to get that extra spot either in the BCS championship game or the playoff. Or I say Saban because he was the one that was on there most because he's decent at it. But you know how that goes.
Sure.
And it seemed like Porter was kind of in that mode last night.
I wonder, what the difference would be 100% OU against TCU. And you never know. You got to still play the game.
Yeah, that's right.
People can make shots.
It's easy to say. Yeah.
It's easy to say that they would have
They'd
been
beat
better or they'd beat them. But I do wonder, with McCollum being out, kind of a late game, he was scratched early in the day, I think. Is it like, hey, just we know we're in.
I think that
let's
there's some
concede
truth
this
to that.
and let's get healthy as we can get before and go on a run, or hopefully go on a run.
I think there's some truth to that. I really do. I do think that might have been the case. Hey, where our spot is secure. Let's get these guys because it'd be great to win the Big 12 tournament, but wouldn't you rather win 2 games in the big tournament and go to the Sweet 16? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that there could have been some line of thinking that way. I really do. Then they felt secure enough with their spot that they decided that route. Now we'll see if it bites them in the tail, but it sure doesn't look like it with any of these projections. It does not look like it's going to bother them much, if not any. Because even if you think you lose a seed, losing this time on kind of where they're at. Okay, so you went from an 8 to a 9. You're still playing, in a couple of them. Then you go to a 10, which I've said it. I think you'd rather be a 10 than an 8 or a 9. Maybe not for the first game, but definitely for the second one. Because there's vulnerability at the 2 spot that maybe there isn't at the 1, and I think it's maybe even accentuated more now because there aren't as good of teams with the parity that is college basketball. All right, Thunder host the Mavs tonight. We'll see about Luka. He exited last night's win over the Warriors. A little bit of a hamstring tightness. I don't know if we could go all the way to injury because we don't know. It's kind of day-to-day is what Jason Kidd said after the game last night. So that would obviously help the Thunder's chances if Luka Doncic wasn't on the floor for Dallas. But I think it's not like some sort of must-win for the Thunder. But I do think it's one of those you ought to win and kind of get the thing after the loss against Indiana. Just wipe that all away, get you a win, and then you go to Memphis, I think, next. And, the schedules outside of those, 4 or 5 in a row on the East, and even some of those don't look as tough now with Philly in shambles, and, the Knicks are kind of beat up in some spots too. That may not be as tough as you thought it was going to be, say, a month ago. So you win tonight, you start kind of stringing some more wins together again and try to – I don't think they care near as much about the 1 seed as we do.
Just maybe a top 4 seed. Are you talking about?
Yeah, I'm talking about the organization.
Gotcha.
I don't even know if we put Jim's famous truth serum inside Sam Presti. I would love to know the answer to this question. Sam, do you think the championship window is even open yet? They sure aren't playing as if they think it is. It seems more developed / experimental still. And rightfully so. They still got a season or so before you have to pay Dub, before you have to pay Holmgren, where you can take some risks with a bigger money guy that runs out, concurrently, to where maybe that guy can make a huge difference next year or the year after, before you really have to start talking about, okay, now we got to find cheap answers outside of the top 3. So I actually think the answer would be no. I don't think in their heart of hearts they believe they are in the championship window yet, which is crazy.
It is nuts and exciting.
Crazy to think.
Yeah. As of 9:30 injury report, Dallas has not submitted one yet.
Okay. Yeah,
But Thunder have, and there's no Williams on there.
Interesting.
Maybe a good sign.
Yeah, one would think that he would be ready to go then.
But these changes every hour, so if you're that obsessed with it, just Google NBA injury report, and you'll find it.
Throughout the day.
Yeah.
You can hear it right here. It's a 9 o'clock start tonight, a late night tip in OKC. Thunder versus Mavs. Everybody have a great Thursday. We will be back tomorrow.
You've been listening to the Skinny on Sports podcast with Aaron Cow. Be sure to hit that subscribe button to get alerts of when the latest podcast is available. Thanks for listening.
That ball is blistered to right. Way